I fully intended to start this show an hour ago, but there is so much happening on a Saturday of such enormous impact that I just couldn't put it down. And I just kept writing and kept on deciding which things I needed to report to you and which things it just wasn't going to be enough time to do it. Anyway, let's get into it. Let me talk to you. Let me start with a video that has gotten some reporting today. The All In podcast. If you're not watching the All In podcast, that's about an hour and a half a week, and almost always worth your time. Anyway, they had Travis Kalanick. I don't know. Kalanisk, and you can probably find him on X if you wish to. He's the founder of Uber, and he was on that podcast today. It was very interesting to hear him talking um, about the autonomous future, the autonomous car business, and his perspective was so tainted by his background working for Uber. He had some very good things to say, some very interesting things to say anyway. And so I felt like we should really take a look at what his thinking was because, it would be, there's probably other folks thinking the same way. He says he acknowledged that self-driving is happening and that the Waymo experience right now is great. Yeah, that, you can jump into a Waymo car and it's, you don't even think about it. It's just like, it's going to be safe and you're fine. What he should have said is that the Waymo system has paved the way for all others. I'm glad for that. I've been talking about that for quite a number of months now. The reality is people that are getting into Waymos now are people that are going to be customers for all kinds of systems in the future. And I'm thinking most of that is going to be Tesla. It would have been smart for him to say that. They're getting used to the idea. And that's a good thing. He suggested that there's a big opportunity for combustion engine cars, ICE cars, to also become fully autonomous and therefore compete in this robotaxi space. His big worry was about the amount of electricity that we needed to power all those electric cars. His analysis was horrific, as his main argument was that if you took 100%, if 100% of all the cars and all the uses in California were for electric robotaxis, 100%, not 90%, not 50%, not 40%, that it would double the requirement on the grid as to what the grid is producing now. So what he didn't say is that will take at least 15 years, and that's optimistic. I mean, it's probably longer than that, and it'll probably actually won't ever nearly come to 100%. I'm saying 25 years from now, there will still be ICE cars on the road, not many, and there will still be people that own their own cars, not many, but it's still going to be a thing. So that was a crazy analysis. And number two, he forgot that Elon Musk is vertical. He's vertical in so many ways. Like, for instance, he builds batteries, and he just the other day said, just prior to All In podcast being on, and by the way, this was information that I reported on over a year ago, is that just by upgrading the existing power sources, gas, oil, coal, all of them, just by upgrading those resources and upgrading the grid, you could double the amount of electricity we're getting off the existing grid. How do you upgrade that grid? Oh, with giant batteries, megapacks and other giant batteries. So if you want to upgrade the grid, that's how you do it. Now, there's also some other things he talked about, like where are you going to get all the places that are going to have a place to charge the car, wash the car, all the rest of that. Well, if you've been paying you've been paying attention. Oh yeah, Tesla already owns hundreds, thousands of existing places to power the cars. He's already been showing a methodology for washing the cars, assuming that will be used at some of these facilities to wash robocabs or cybercabs when they come in. And then, of course, those existing facilities could have megapacks on them, could be powered by solar panels so that they wouldn't be taking from the existing grid. He talked about the difficulty he's having in his new venture with getting connected to the grid and whatnot. Well, you don't have as much trouble getting connected to the grid if that's really a problem for you. Okay, put in some solar and have the solar go directly to your battery, which then goes to your charging station. Anyway, I just come on now. Help me out here. Anyway, so so back to ICE cars being autonomous. Sure, it could happen, but I doubt it. Maybe 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐲 would be interested in doing that, but I think he's already making about as many of these as he could. I'm not sure the people that have ICE cars would be interested. I mean, I don't, for me, over in general, I think that was like the worst idea he had of the hour. He acknowledged that Tesla's manufacturing prowess was going to be a real problem for all the other players. He should have said, oh yeah, I know I'm getting into a theme here. He should have said that this prowess will absolutely crush the competition. And he might have even suggested that the competition might figure out it's better to buy Tesla than to fight Tesla. To buy Tesla products, buy Tesla cars and replace the stupid cars that they're using now when the Tesla cars will be so much cheaper and cheaper to operate and better in every way. It's probably just better to buy Tesla cars. Anyway, Tesla has, that's the story there. And then Tesla has cut leases today, lease prices. If you want a Model 3 or a Cybertruck in the US, now, of course, we're not talking about the Cybertruck that's going to come out next month. We're talking about the 80,000, 100,000, 120,000. If you want to get one of those on a lease, you can now get a Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive for $249 a month. You can get a Model 3 long-range for $349 a month. That's down from $399 a month. You can get a Model 3 Performance for $599 a month. That actually didn't change. And then a Cybertruck has come down from $899 to $749. Wow, that's the all-wheel drive $80,000 Cybertruck for $749 a month. So if you're into the leasing side of things, and quite frankly, there's some real benefits that have never been here before with regard to leasing. Did you ever think about this? You get a 3-year lease on a whatever. 3 years from now, you may not want a car anymore. What about that? Okay. Or maybe you have to lease it for 3 years and get another lease for 3 years. And at the end of that 6 years, I'm pretty sure you're going to be having 0 cars in your garage. All right. This is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. Canada tariffs will go into effect on Tuesday if they don't solve the fentanyl question. If Trump gets what he's asking for regarding the border with regard to fentanyl and other kinds of traffic coming across the Canadian border, the entire thing goes away. That was reiterated today by Trump and officials. So this is not about income to the U.S. Treasury. This is not about any kind of trade imbalance between us and Mexico or us and Canada. Not yet. Those will be taken care of in much broader, big meetings where they're going to hammer it out again as to what's fair between the 3 countries. It'll be a protracted, probably 3, 4, 5-month thing. By midsummer, they'll come up with a new North American treaty thing. No, this is not what this is about. This is about Trump being absolutely focused on stopping the fentanyl traffic. And if you stop the fentanyl traffic, you stop the human traffic, you stop the gun traffic, gun running, you stop you help to stop the just normal terrorists and criminals and others coming across the border that you don't want to come across the border. So yeah, that's what this is about. And Canada seems to be very, very, very interested in solving the problem before Tuesday. I bet they do. I am cautiously also optimistic that we will reach I'm sorry, this is an Elon Musk quote. All right, are you ready? I am cautiously optimistic that we will reach the $4 billion per day fiscal year 2026 reduction this weekend, meaning now. The fiscal year is from October to September. So to reach it, for this remaining 7 months, 8 months, whatever, would be very, very difficult. He's talking about starting in September. He believes he's already cut next year's budget by $4 billion per day, which is the goal. The goal was actually 3.5, I think. That would have cut the budget, cut the deficit in half. Now let's talk a little bit more about this. All right. So now I wrote the information that you're now going to read. I mean, I'm not now going to read. I wrote that this morning on X. Maybe you've already seen it. That was before I watched the All In podcast, which ended up confirming most of the points, other than one big point, which we'll get to in a minute. They didn't confirm that one huge point, but they pretty much the rest. But they also referred to a Ray Dalio interview with David Friedberg, one of the hosts, where they just talked about the fact that if they don't cut the deficit in half quickly, soon, that the U.S. government, the U.S. fiscal situation is in crisis. One of the things I talked about is the problem with not maybe having enough buyers for the long treasuries. And I think it's something on the order of 30%, 35% of all the long treasuries will be what do you call it, reissued this year. They'll be expiring and they'll have to go out and get new ones. And if you don't have enough buyers, what happens to the interest rate? Oh, yeah. Well, the 30-year was recently at 5.5. The 10-year has been, it was stuck at 4.75. Now both of those have come down. So I think these bond buyers are beginning to believe DOGE. But man, if they believe, well, okay, let's jump into it. My poll, I took a poll, and it shows that so far chaos. I mean, this is chaos. Come on, let's call it what it is. What's happening in these first 12 days of the Trump administration is totally chaotic, totally wild, totally crazy, and totally fun. And something like 90% of the people that follow me on X said that it was better than television, and they were all for it, 100% in, okay? Maybe it was only 80, I forget, but it was along that line. So the chaos is likely, though, however, are you ready? Okay, here's the big one. Ready? Now, come on. You're going to hear it first. Right here. You haven't heard it from anybody else. Go ahead. Tell me in the discussion below. Tell me anybody else that has said this. Okay, we're in for a short recession. Now I'm going to tell you who said it. He didn't say it exactly that way. It was Elon Musk who said, there is going to be pain from what DOGE is doing. Now, pain, that doesn't mean everything's going great in the economy. That means pain. What is pain? Pain would mean, oh, maybe, a short recession. And I think what we're going to be looking at is a recession that will probably start right around March 1st. I think that's when we'll really begin to see it. And then it'll probably last 1 to 2 quarters. And, it'll remind you maybe of the Reagan years. Okay. You come in, you take care of all this junk that's in the system. You take care of the plaque that is built up in the arteries. You take care of that quickly in the beginning of your term. And by the end of Reagan's term, he got his second, his reelected the second time with, 49 states voting for Mr. Reagan. So I think that's what Trump has in mind. Of course, he knows he can't be reelected. I think he'd like to see, his vice president be the next president. And I think if he does, with what he's doing now, that's almost guaranteed. Anyway, number one, the government cuts will reduce overall GDP by $4 billion a day. You just heard it. Okay. And yes, a lot of those cuts won't start until till October 1. But some of those cuts are happening right now because people are already leaving their jobs. Contracts are being cut, stopped. Amounts that are supposed to be paid to foreign governments are being cut off. Procurements are being stopped. Fraud and all kinds of stuff is happening immediately. That is going to impact the economy. Plus, that impacting the economy is going to hit all these contractors and small businesses that have a lot of government business. And some of them already see it coming. They've already been notified, or they know it's coming, or it's not going to, maybe it won't impact them until September, but they know it's coming. And so what are they going to do? They're going to have to either find other business to offset that, or they're going to have to cut back on staff and stuff like that. So I'm just telling you, I think by March 1, we will begin to see the impact of this $4 billion a day. That is, a problem. Number two, the tariffs. Well, if the tariffs go through and where they go through, but there will be some tariffs, and that'll have some increase, some impact on prices on a one-time basis. It will cause substantial shifts in supply lines. And depending on whether businesses see these tariffs as being short-term or long-term, it might even cause some companies to move operations. So there's going to be some expense there. There's going to be some potential lost business here and there. There could be, if there's retribution by countries where we put tariffs in place, there could be some lost exports. The overall import-export business is big, but it's like, it's not very big in terms of the overall economy. I think I'm pulling this number out of my hat, but I remember something on the order of 5%. It's not nowhere close to auto. It's not close to housing. I mean, some of these other businesses, represent, 10, 20% of the economy. All right, number three, the income from the tariffs to the treasury will not be as high as some are projecting because in some cases the flow of goods from those sources will slow or stop. They just won't be able to export to us anymore. But there will be substantial income, and that will help to reduce the deficit some. All right. The lack of new immigration and the flow of immigrants back the other direction will impact GDP. There won't be as much spending in the United States because those immigrants, while they're here, spend money. I don't care if they were only making, $15 an hour under the table. They spend money. Okay. And so that will have an impact on GDP. And number five, while I would predict a recession starting in quarter two, it will be short-lived as the economy will adjust and the outcomes will be be hugely positive with inflation destroyed and interest rates down, which is what we'll talk about in a second. But this will be a great economy for the next decade or so because of what's done in this 6 months or 18 months, I guess, for DOGE. So that's all going to happen. You write it down. Randy said it first. Recession is coming. Now, the traders don't see this recession coming. Normally, you've heard it for the whole time. If you've been listening to the show, the traders will see it 6 months ahead and they'll start selling off. And everybody was like expecting the recession to be in 23. Then they were expecting it to be in early 24. And then nobody was expecting a recession in 24. And then it all went away. And now nobody's talking about recession at all. And then, normally the traders are like, I see it coming. And so they start selling the stock. But this time it's going to hit quickly, like out of the blue. And so the traders are not going to be expecting it. But if they're smart, what they're going to know is it's going to be a 6-month recession and there's going to be good news at the other end. Well, traders typically want to think 6 months out. So typically this would mean, this will be a heart attack, for now, but we'll be in great shape 6 months from now. So there'll be no reason for the market to go down. But what will happen is there will be a knee-jerk reaction when the numbers start coming out that are so negative. And I'm looking for that. Finally, we get that 20% drop in the Dow, 30% drop in the NASDAQ. I don't think it's going to impact Tesla as much this time because the Tesla story, the Tesla narrative is now on its own. It'll be down, but it won't be down as much as the NASDAQ. Okay, then there's a bright spot in my Trump recession scenario. Once it's obvious, treasuries will rally big time. I think the yields will drop as much as 100 basis points. We'll be down to 3.75 on the 10-year. Mortgages will drop into the 5s, and loan rates for cars will drop also. Well, that all will be good. So sometime again within that 6-month period, after it becomes obvious that we're having that all this stuff is really happening and it's not going to just go away, you'll see these interest rates come down, 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 and that'll be good. And that'll be part of the reason why the economy picks up again, because people will be buying cars and they'll be buying houses and people will be building houses. And maybe durables, maybe durable goods will actually make a comeback. All right. That's it. That's my rant. And then from That's 𝐒𝐮, he says, this is massive. Last year, federal agencies passed 3,236 new rules. They often pass new rules without removing old rules. Well, sometimes they do just make a change. But anyway, these are new rules. Sometimes the new rules contradict the old rules, and that makes it impossible to be legally compliant. You've probably heard Elon talk about that. I could talk about it forever. Anyway, let's end the story today. Let's end my rant. It sounds like I've been ranting the whole time, right? Let's talk about, this is from Officer_Lou, L-E-W kind of Lou. Officer Lou says, breaking, acting FBI Director Driscoll, the new FBI acting director, has acknowledged in a leaked, already they're getting leaks, a leaked internal memo, a significant portion of the FBI was involved in investigating Trump and his supporters, stating, quote, we understand that this encompasses thousands of employees who took part in these investigations, including myself. That would be FBI Director Driscoll and Deputy Director 𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲, 𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲, 𝐒𝐮𝐧𝐝𝐚𝐲. Earlier to so therefore you had thousands. By the way, there was also another breaking news just before I came on that I think 88 or was it 300? I don't know, a really big number, dozens and dozens and dozens of FBI agents being escorted out of the building because of this memo. All right. So listen, earlier today, if you want to go back and take a look, there was a video with Brian Wang giving his view on the fast expansion of robotaxis that he expects to be taking place. You already heard Larry talk about how he sees it rolling out, a little slow in the beginning and then really fast. Brian Wang has a different view, maybe a little faster in 2025 than what Larry was thinking. That'll be Brian's view. And then, and I'll put that card right up here. And then later tonight, amazing interview with tech reporter Robert Scobel talking about his visit to CES, seeing the robots in person, shaking hands with some of those robots. Well, okay, maybe I think he said he got he was at the what do you call it? We Robot thing for Tesla. Said he did get to shake hands with a robot there. So anyway, a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting ideas that Robert Scobel has with regard to Optimus. So you want to check that out, which means you need to hit notify. You know how to do it. I'll let you all go at that point by just saying it has been great talking to you.